Welcome to the Culture Edit. Unique perspectives into the personal and professional lives of individuals at the helm of successful business, athletics, art, and design. Welcome to the Culture Edit. It is Monday, October 14th. We're on episode
63.
63.
Yep.
I'm going to start losing track, I feel like. And it's Monday afternoon. It's actually very nice out, very chilly. The chill has started. But is this fake fall?
No,
I feel like
it's real fall. We already had fake fall.
Yeah, but remember last year at Stomp and Chomp or Chomp and Stomp, whatever, it got hot again.
I mean, you could have some days that it gets warm in the day, but I think we're going to continue. It's going to be chilly when the sun goes down.
Chilly Willy.
Isn't that a song?
'Cause when the sun goes down, we'll be grooving when the sun goes down.
So, Nikki and Chad Strickland are your hosts. We never say that. We never say that.
I think we have a lot of recurring listeners, so.
That's true.
But if you're new, hello.
Hello?
We also are puppy sitting a little fellow named Murphy the Smurfy, and he is glued to my hip at all times.
Yeah, he's a Velcro dog.
He's a Velcro dog. He weighs about 8 pounds.
I was going to say 15.
No, I think he weighs less than that.
He has the body of Italian Greyhound and the head of a Chihuahua.
You won't stop licking my leg. Stop it. Yeah, he's a pretty funny little guy. So we have him as a company, and Emmy's getting more fond of him. I wouldn't say she's loving him, but she's okay. She's fine.
She hadn't tried to kill him today.
She hadn't tried to. Yeah, today. So what was this past weekend, Chad?
Oh, I thought you were talking about my trip to Save Florida.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that wasn't technically the weekend. That was last week. So,
well, it started Thursday morning.
So Wednesday night, Chad decided to go on a grand adventure with one of our friends, a friend of the pod, Ryan Marshall, and they decided they were going to unilaterally save Florida Man.
They didn't decide. Ryan was already going with
kidding.
a group of Pulte volunteers to save Florida with a lot of generators and a lot of gas and food and water and provisions. And we didn't know what was happening, right? So, I mean, with Helene happening a week and a half ago and the destruction that caused in the panhandle of Florida, North Carolina, we thought that, and all indications were, because we talked about this on the podcast last week, that Milton was going to destroy Tampa.
Yeah.
And so I was born in Tampa. All our friends are down in Tampa.
Yeah.
And so when Ryan said he was going down to help, I rose my hand and said, yeah, I'll join you.
And I think we have to give him huge kudos as a leader, because when you're leading the organization, there's obviously a lot on your plate, to say the least. And
a few things.
A few things lingering. And the fact that he just picked everything up and rallied a team to go down to Florida. Because Pulte Group has obviously a huge contingency, a lot of employees in Florida, especially
several divisions.
Yeah, several divisions in Florida. And a lot of them are in Central Florida. And so I thought it was pretty amazing show of leadership to, again, rally a bunch of people and go down there, not knowing what circumstance you're in, but it doesn't matter. There's employees down there that need help, and y'all were delivering generators to families. And you said there's families that crying because they were so thankful.
Yeah, I mean, it was helping the employees of Pulte.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what to expect. It wasn't as bad, obviously, as Helene was, and we figured that out halfway down there. And obviously, once we got there, we could see that like the level of destruction wasn't there, but people didn't have power.
3 million people.
Yeah, so not having power.
They still don't have power.
Yeah, and so being able to help the employees of Pulte with those generators and gas, there's no gas in Tampa Bay area at all. So we were able to deliver, a lot of supplies that were really, I think a lot of people were very, very thankful for.
Fun trip. I mean, I wouldn't say fun, but good, productive trip.
Yeah, I mean,
fun and productive.
Yes,
although you almost slept on the floor of their sales office because there was no hotels.
We didn't have a hotel room.
We were frantically. You guys called me and were like, "Can you please look in Ocala or wherever?"
Yeah, Gainesville.
To see if there's a hotel. I mean, I would say obviously from Central Florida, basically until you got to Atlanta,
Yes.
there wasn't one hotel room. It
Zero.
was actually insane.
Zero.
Off the highway. Obviously, if you like really branched off into North Florida somewhere, you could find one. But if you're staying on the highway, near the highway, it was completely booked. So you guys had the hookup though, and
We thought we were going to sleep in the sales office.
Yeah.
We took
air mattresses.
blow up mattresses. Ryan was prepared to sleep in the bed of his truck.
I mean, he's a trooper.
I was not as keen on that one, but the local division office found us a room in Ocala, which I was very thankful for.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about this all the time. If you know us well, we have talked about how amazing a company Pulte Group is. I mean, Ryan's been on the podcast. He's talked about all the culture work they do, but this is a perfect example of how it goes so far beyond just culture at the company, but the culture starts with leadership. It starts with how much leaders care about the people. Like it is a lot for a CEO or an executive to take that much time out of their day to drive to deliver supplies to employees and their families. And I just think that's extremely commendable. And
It was all the division leadership.
yeah.
I mean, it was Atlanta division leadership were also the ones volunteering to drive down with us.
Yeah.
And then the division leadership down there were the ones coordinating everything.
But what
Yeah,
an
I mean, if you
example.
work at Pulte, you're like, wow, these people care a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they care a lot. Most importantly, I had one of the best pieces of pizza I've ever had in my life. At this place called Paisanos in Ocala. It's in a strip mall, and it looks like a hole in the wall.
I feel like I've heard of that before.
And we just walked in there, and Ryan and I were both blown away by the pizza. So shout out to Paisanos. It's not even the kind of pizza I like normally. It's like
thicker,
it's
fluffier.
the fluffier kind. Yeah, really, really good. So that got us to the weekend.
Yeah, so the weekend was pretty productive, pretty eventful. We both got some good runs in, got some good rides in. You did Tucker, which you begrudgingly did because you haven't done it in a while, but you said it was pretty good. It was good.
I got to save another person on that one.
Oh yeah.
Celebrity chef and friend of the pod, Kevin Maxey.
Yeah.
Had a flat. I stopped, helped him.
So I caught this earlier.
Yeah.
The bike shop put mountain bike sealant in his tires, and that's why.
He was like, yeah, I just got tubeless tires put on last night. I've already flatted once on the way there.
Yeah.
And then when he flatted again, that's why I stopped, because I knew he'd be stranded. But the sealant was like really thick viscosity.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like road sealant, so it was like really thick, so it wasn't sealing his tire on. But that was it.
Oh. I didn't even know that was like. See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't even know anything about this industry.
Yeah. It's really complicated. It shouldn't be that complicated.
Okay, so you did Tucker, saved a life.
Yeah.
And I ran up Stone Mountain, which was fun.
Yeah. Trophy.
It was harder than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it would be hard, but it actually was harder. Like towards the top, it pitches up to 33% grade.
That's steep.
That's really like it's which essentially you can't run up 33%. I don't think anyone can truly like do a run up 33%. It's more of a hike.
Yeah. A fast hike.
I wouldn't say it's a fast hike, but
Just a hike.
Just a hike. But I didn't use I didn't use the side with the guardrails, so I used like just the regular side.
Yeah.
But what was even scarier was actually going down 33%.
Jammed up your toes.
It's pretty terrifying. Except I will say, so when we were in Boise, I got new Saucony. I don't know how you say it, but it's their new trail race shoe. Anyways, John Trainer, he'll know how to say it.
Paradigm?
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 Huh?
How do you spell it?
Peregin. Paradigm?
G-I-M?
Yeah, Gine.
Paragon?
Yeah, it's like Perigine or something.
Okay.
Anyways.
Trainer, call in and let us know.
Yeah, let us know. But I literally was like actually kind of hopping down the 33%, like doing a little like jog.
Yeah.
It didn't even budge. Like those shoes were glued to that rock. And for those of you who don't know Stone Mountain is just a giant slab of what is it? Granite. Mm-hmm. So it was sticking.
Well, it's like a giant pebble.
It was sticking to the granite. Like the shoes. I mean, I was really impressed. Like it was
sticky rubber.
Yeah, it was really incredible. So anyways, it was fun, harder than I thought, but gotta add the elevation in over the next month so I don't just destroy myself in this race I signed up for. I feel like it's kind of a mistake now. I'm getting a little scared.
She's regretting signing up for the Trail Ultra.
Well, it's 30K, which is, it's 19 miles essentially.
So is that an ultra?
Well, yeah, okay, so technically an ultra is anything over a marathon, so it's not technically an ultra.
Okay.
I think, like, there's a 50K option, but it has 10,000 feet of climbing. I'm not doing that. That's crazy.
The 50?
The 50K, which is technically
10,000 feet of climbing?
Yeah, so 50K is like 30 miles.
Yeah.
30-something miles. And it has 10,000 feet of climbing.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I watched a video of a guy who recorded his entire time, and he
That's
just walked. He basically just walked the entire time, and it took him like 8 hours.
That's 6 cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except in half the distance.
Except when you're walking.
Like yeah. Anyways, so I won't be doing that.
Okay, but you're doing the 30.
The 30K still has over 4,000 feet of climbing, so I'm very stressed actually.
Yeah. Well, you'll have your Sauconys on.
Yeah, and I got my little trekking poles, and I don't know. I'm gonna see how the next month of training goes, because I also I signed up for it. I don't want to injure myself though, so I'm gonna see how the legs handle the descents. I'm gonna go up there and do a little recon.
Yeah, definitely.
It's more the descending I'm worried about than the climbing.
Yeah, that's what William was just saying.
Yeah,
when I talked to him about it.
So
it's gotta be careful of the descents.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's discouraging me.
No one wants Nikki hurt. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in addition to Saucony, what was it? Tracksmith you wanted to talk about?
Oh, well, I was just saying how we were talking about the differences in like running brands and everything. And this really has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
What's running? Yeah,
other than it's running. But you were asking me, like, why do you like Tracksmith so much over other brands? And, the things that I like evolve constantly, because I'm always like,
yeah, because this was a relatively new
direction. Because I didn't have Tracksmith before. So I had Bandit because they got me with the social media play. And their social media is a lot, and their presence at races is a lot stronger, I would say, for the beginner runner than I wouldn't say Tracksmith is a beginner runner brand.
No, yeah, they're more serious.
Yeah, it's more
Bandit. The Bandit, you were attached to Bandit through ARC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I learned about Bandit through ARC, and they are super cool. But then once I found Tracksmith, I will say what I like about Tracksmith is they invest a lot more, I believe, into the fabrics and the design, and I mean they're just doing a lot of research into designing their clothes. And so like what I think is cool, so like I'll take it, and I don't want to bash on Bandit because I really do like them still, but they will make a product and then the next season they'll get rid of it and replace it with something new. So like I have this Bandit t-shirt that I am obsessed with and I wear it all the time because I like the material. It's like really nice. But
that's a normal retail strategy.
I know, but I don't like that strategy from a running perspective. Like in fashion it makes sense, but I feel like in performance wear it doesn't necessarily make sense because you get used to something, and these are things that I ran 41 miles this week. That's a lot of time in clothes.
But you will buy the same shirt and you'll buy the same exact shirt over and over again.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a normal behavior?
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
Oh yeah, you've never seen like on TikTok how girls are like, if I like it, I just buy it in a different color. If I like it, I just get it in a different color. No. It's like a thing.
Okay.
So that's normal. But what I was gonna say is, so Bandit just is constantly changing like the SKUs, the material, like everything, and so I can't find something like I can't get the one thing I like in multiple different colors because they're always changing everything. Anyway, so then...
Well, they're a much smaller company.
Yeah, they're much smaller. So Tracksmith I do like because they have the different like materials for the different seasons. Mm-hmm. And they keep the same exact design. Like they'll change the colors. But like, let's say I really like their session line, I think is really nice. Well, anyways, I'll just use that as an example. So like their session shirt and their session shorts, they go together. They have the matching colors, everything. And the material is really nice. And what I like about it is that earlier this year, I bought a pair of session shorts, and then they just released new ones. And they basically are like, we're not it's the same thing, but we basically tweaked all these little things that we're getting feedback on. So they're not just like scrapping an entire product and bringing a new product. They're just constantly innovating on the great product they already have, which I like because I'm able to continue to have that reliability of like, I really like the session line. It's not ever going to go away. Mm-hmm. But they're always innovating little things, you know, like, oh, we added a pocket here because you all said you need like one more pocket, or we changed the lining of the shorts to make it the materials more comfortable. Anyways, I was just saying how I think that a lot of brands need to stop reinventing the wheel, or like stop like reinventing everything. And they just need to like make little tweaks to make things better. In the performance wear, in fashion, I mean, it's totally different, but.
Why don't you wear or look at like traditional running apparel brands?
Like what?
Nike, Adidas.
Well, Nike's quality from a running clothing perspective, I don't think is that great.
Okay. Adidas.
I've never tried anything Adidas before.
Adidas? What about them?
Adidas. Or Nike, as the Euros say. I've never tried
Or what about Saucony's running clothes?
Looks like shit.
Okay.
Honestly.
See, people thought this episode was being brought to you by Saucony, but you just proved it's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some brands. They don't have a lot of options. There's some brands that do clothes really well. There's some because even like Tracksmith has shoes, but I probably wouldn't try the Tracksmith.
That's what I was going to say. Is like the shoe companies. It's like the apparel's almost like an afterthought. They're just.
Well, you only have so much money for research and development. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so you got to kind of like lean into like what you're best at. Yeah. And Tracksmith is really great at clothes. I mean, they do. Like their Italian merino wool line, I can't remember what it's called, but like it's their essentially like transition to winter line. I have one of the t-shirts and it is incredible. Like the material is so nice and the sweat like dries immediately, so you're not cold. Whereas like their summer line, it like really holds on to the sweat, so it actually cools you down. But you wouldn't want that to wear that in the winter. Yeah. I'm just really impressed with how like high tech all their clothes, the materials are.
That's good.
Yeah, but their shoes, I don't know. I'm not sure.
No on the shoes.
I mean, they might be good, but I don't feel like investing in. I like Saucony.
Did you see? There was an article in the New York Times about super shoes again. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw that yesterday in Chicago, a girl ran the fastest marathon ever. Yeah. In super shoes.
The first woman to run in under 2:10, I think. Yeah.
I didn't realize that the governing body has limited what they can do with the super shoe to use in competition. They can only use one carbon plate, and they've also limited the stack height to 40 meters.
Oh, she was wearing looks like the Vaporfly to me, but it could be the Alpha. Yeah. I mean, everyone wins in Nikes. Yep. It's like, I mean, it is. Hey, and look, I will say, my Nikes, the Vaporflies are so much fast. Like, I have the carbon-plated Sauconys, and I have, obviously, the Vaporflies, which is one of the carbon-plated Nike shoes, super shoes. Yeah. The Nike super shoes, like, destroy the Saucony super shoe. They just do. Yeah. They're so much springier, so much, like... But I can't run in them. It hurts my hips. Yeah. I'm not strong enough.
Did you know that they had limited the stack height?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's 40 millimeters is the highest they'll go. 40? Because they I think it's 40.
That seems high.
But they use the Alpha Fly as like the standard whenever they made up these new rules. Because like apparently there were no rules before the Alpha Fly. So whenever Nike created the shoe, they had to create new rules around what can be put in the shoe. But I didn't realize the stack height had such an impact on how fast the shoe was.
Yeah, I didn't
That's
either.
A new thing because the whole article was talking about how there used to be a widely accepted, quote unquote, scientific belief that low stack height, so marathon shoes are like super low.
Yeah. Well, that's like the ultra shoes. Like they're basically.
Yeah. And so, but then Nike came along with the Alpha Fly and proved that wrong. So it's, it's probably like.
They're like, we're running in high heels.
Yeah. It's like Chisel thinking that.
I think because it forces you more on your toes maybe, and it forces you to lean forward. So that could be it. Like it's forcing you.
Yeah, it's something about the curvature of it.
We're not scientists. We sound like idiots. Yeah, we need to get an expert in here.
Yeah, we need to get Brett back on the pod.
Just like bikes, I really don't know that. Like, it's so funny. People will be like, oh, what kind of shoes are those? And I don't know the names of anything. Like, I know what brand they are, but if you were to ask me, like, what my Sauconys are, I just...
The model.
The model. Yeah, I just don't know. Like, I buy... Like, I can't... It's like, endorphin something, whatever, Yeah. And I know nothing. You could be like, oh, how's the stack height? I would have literally no idea. I don't know. So I'm not a
I just run in them.
I'm not a shoe or bike scientist.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even know what model my gravel bike is if someone asked me.
It's a Factor.
Well, I know it's a Factor, but I don't know the model.
LS.
Okay, but I wouldn't have known that.
No, you don't know it.
Exactly.
Well, it's because it doesn't have a cool name. Like, if it's specialized, it would be a Diverge.
Yeah, I know
right?
all the... But I also I was forced to learn about all the specialized things
That's
because of being an ambassador.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a random tangent, but I do think I would love to know like everyone's favorite running brands, clothing. Send me a message, John Trainer. I would love to know what you and Heather like the best because I'm always looking for like different like people because
I think you've tried them all.
John and Heather run a lot of marathons, and clothing. The further you're running, the more important the clothing is because again, it's like you don't want to be sweating through it like crazy, and also no chafing.
Yeah, find out what Adam Katz Sending is running in and don't use that.
Why does he want his nipples to bleed? He likes it.
Former guest,
He's a sadist.
Adam from last year, lives in Copenhagen. You'll remember that. He does a marathon and his nipples bleed every time. And he takes a picture of it.
Every time. Sometimes I'm like, is he using sandpaper like just to get the shot? Anyways, yeah, running clothing. Interesting topic.
Yeah.
What else did you do this weekend?
Yeah, so I rode with Alan. Then we went to the Grant Park cyclocross race, which was not worth podcast airtime.
We're not big cyclocross people. I mean, I think at the highest level, it's pretty cool to watch because they're moving like they are ninjas.
Oh, sure. If it's Vanderpool, like
I've never felt more dumb than when I did a cyclocross race. And this is not against cyclocross because I know a lot of people look like gazelles when they're doing it.
You said you felt like you were in slow motion.
I look like a complete idiot. I cannot, like, I felt like I was in slow motion. I felt like I was just, like, I was fumbling. I was mortified. I was like, no, this is too much embarrassment for one person to handle in a 20-minute period.
And you crashed and broke your finger.
And I broke my finger, and it's never been the same.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't need my pinky.
Yeah.
For a lot of things.
First and only cyclocross race.
Yep.
So you wanted to talk about some work stuff?
Well, are you, first of all, how are you feeling about Big Sugar coming up?
I'm excited about seeing Bentonville. I'm excited about getting there. I've never gone to Bentonville, and I've heard that it's this really spectacular cycling destination, mainly mountain bikes, but also gravel too. So I want to see what that's like, and the infrastructure that they've built around that, and what the Waltons have done there is really interesting. So I'm excited about that. Michael is already out there. He raced the Little Sugar mountain bike race, which is a misnomer because it's 100 kilometers. It's 60 miles on a mountain bike.
Which is a long ways.
Yeah, and we're pretty proud of his effort yesterday.
So proud.
Because he got hit by a car 3 weeks ago, went to Grady, concussion, etc. Hasn't even been able to ride that much. Candidly, doesn't even ride his mountain bike that much.
He rides it to the office. Goes out there, lines up with literally the best professional mountain bikers in the world, and he got 14th. At one point, he was up to 11th. Yeah, out of like 70 people.
Out of 70 professional mountain bikers.
Yeah, this isn't like anyone can show up and race. It's you have to be professional, right?
Yes, and there's no one in that field that raced Speed Week. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alan and I are going out there on Thursday to meet up with Michael. We're all doing the 100-mile gravel race, Big Sugar. It's probably the biggest. I mean, the biggest of the end of the year.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ride it, and Alan says he's just gonna ride it, but we all know he's gonna race it, and Michael's gonna race it.
You just have fun.
Yeah.
All right, so enough bike stuff, enough running stuff. Let's get into work mode, because you all actually really like when we talk about work. So
this is for you.
One thing, this is for you out there. I don't just randomly.
Joe Greenfeld said he doesn't like the work stuff. He just
whatever.
likes, yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
You can turn it off now. So today, a very influential person passed away. Mm-hmm. Lilly Ledbetter.
She's 86 years old.
Passed away, 86 years old today. And it really brought about, we actually weren't even going to talk about this until we saw that she passed away. And
we talked about talking about comp before.
Yeah, comp.
But, yeah.
But she is essentially the reason that there was a law passed around equal pay.
Equal Pay Act of 2009.
Yeah,
it's actually the Lilly Ledbetter Equal Pay Act of 2009.
So Chad, because I don't really know that much about this act, Chad is the legal mind over here. I do. I mean, I know essentially.
Well, it has to do with a lot of things that you have a passion around.
Yes.
Which is equal pay and transparency.
Yeah.
So Lilly went to work for Goodyear in 1979, and she worked in Alabama. So she's very southern.
Yeah.
And she worked her way up and became a manager over those years, and thought that she was paid well, and thought, she was very happy. And then you don't know this part of the story, but she got a random note in her mailbox, an anonymous note that said, effectively, just wanted you to know that there's other managers at Goodyear that do your job or less, and that make a lot more money than you.
Did they ever find out who put that note there?
Nope, never found out that I know of. Maybe.
Do you think it's a woman or a man?
It'd have to be a man. It'd have to be a man that had access to see compensation.
Yeah, an ally.
Yeah, and so she was really pissed off. She talked to her husband, and she filed a lawsuit against Goodyear in 1998. Yeah, 1998, and won $3.6 million. She was in fact not being paid the same. She was being paid a lot.
3.3.
3.3, 3.6. And then, the facts supported her claim that she was not being paid equally for the same amount of work, which is against the law.
Yeah.
There's already a law in the books around that called Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. And there's a lot of procedural requirements around Title VII, meaning when you can file the claim and how you can file the claim. Effectively, you have to file a federal claim within 180 days of the act, of the discriminatory act happening.
Would that have been when she was notified by the anonymous person? Because how old would she know?
Well, that's the law that gets passed later. So what happened is they appealed. Goodyear appealed that. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled against her, and they ruled in favor of Goodyear because they said that she did not file the claim within 180 days of this discriminatory act, because they determined that the discriminatory act happened when Goodyear hired her and decided to pay her less.
That's so ridiculous.
So Ruth Bader Ginsburg wrote a dissenting opinion that effectively said we think that the deciding act happened every single week whenever her paycheck went out, whenever they decided to pay her. And so she read that dissenting opinion, and she said, you know what, that she was done. She was like, I'm done. I didn't get anything out of this. They're not even punished, even though the facts show that they paid her way less than they did for men. But it was that dissenting opinion that inspired her to effectively try to get the law changed. And she did that. She, through lobbying efforts, got the law passed by.
Why does a judge, this is a little bit, let's rewind. Why does a judge write a dissenting opinion? Is it just to prove a point that I have a different opinion on something that was
that I disagree with the interpretation of the law?
Okay, so another judge.
No, this only happens in Supreme Court and Court of Appeals when they're voting on.
So
five voted in favor of Goodyear, 4 voted in favor of Lilly.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, 5-4.
Yep.
And so then Ruth took it upon herself to then write why she disagreed with.
So there's always an opinion on the majority side, and then there's always a opinion on the minority side.
Why was she the only one who wrote it, and not the other 3?
They all write. They take turns writing them. Okay. Sometimes
it seems like a lot. Like if you're always the person that got stuck with the homework, they're like, okay, Ruth, you write the dissenting opinion again.
No. They all write, and
okay,
sometimes it depends on how passionate they are about it. Sometimes I don't know. I think sometimes maybe they're just up to write it. Sometimes there'll be multiple dissenting opinions.
Maybe it's also based on your expertise, your specific expertise.
It can be that too.
Yeah.
You got to remember also, these people are such legal nerds.
Yeah.
That they love this shit. They love writing an opinion that they think a dissenting opinion that they think most legal scholars would agree with.
Yeah.
It's just like,
that's gotcha. Like,
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
smarter.
That's what they want. So
right.
long story short, so that was in 1998 to 2003, I think, when that process happened. Maybe 2002 is when the Supreme Court ruled against her. And so over the next course of years, a law was drafted and passed. And Obama, it was actually the first law that Obama codified, was this Lilly Ledbetter Equal Pay Act. And it effectively did it does a lot of different things, but it got rid of that 180 days starts whenever they start pay.
Yeah, because how would you know? You
right.
wouldn't know.
So it removes that administrative
So when
requirement.
is this specific time frame now? Is it just any time?
I believe it's every time you get paid.
Okay, so as long as
Yeah.
you essentially file it within 180 days of your last paycheck when you find out, then
Yes.
you're good.
Yep. Yeah, then you're within the statute.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and the reason we thought that was interesting is because
Did she ever get paid anything?
Zero.
Wow.
She never made $1 from it.
But she'll always be remembered.
She will. I mean, she had a very successful speaking, consulting
I'm sure.
career after that.
Man, wish we could have got her for children.
She's really good. Like if you looked up, watch one of her YouTubes, I mean, she has this really thick Southern accent.
Yeah.
And she goes with the whole Andy Griffith, you think that they're not smart because of their Southern accent, but
Yeah.
they really are.
I'll
yeah.
have to look it up.
Yeah, look it up. But the reason we were talking about that this morning is because you were talking about pay transparency and how, I don't know why you got onto that, but you're talking about the fact that
reading some article or something.
Yeah, that you think that companies are not smart for not being transparent.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just think so. I was spending a little bit of time looking at open roles at large companies for internal communications positions, because I figure my line of thinking is if there's a position open for an internal communications director or VP, they probably need help with internal communications in general. So therefore, that's kind of how I was creating a list of targets for sales. But I noticed that it was probably 50-50 whether or not they had, the
Salary range.
Yeah, the salary range.
Yeah.
And what I noticed is I was thinking, if I was the one applying for this job and I see all these companies and really great, huge companies that have these salary ranges, and it gives you a good idea, because if you're in New York and the salary range is X, it gives you a good idea of can I actually live in New York for that amount of money?
Or whether it's worth your time to applying.
Yeah, just I'm not going to waste my time to make $100,000 in Manhattan where I have to be at the job every single day. I can't even work remote because it would be very difficult. Mm-hmm. And so I was just thinking about how when I was looking at jobs in the South, there was really no pay transparency and no ranges.
Because no laws have been passed.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even bother applying for those jobs unless it was a company that I really wanted to work for that company specifically. Then I probably would. But just browsing jobs, I just wouldn't apply to a job that didn't have pay transparency when there's all these other companies that do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it just got me thinking, I don't understand why a company wouldn't have pay transparency. And then I think what I wanted to ask you, because you are more of an expert in compensation structure and how all of that is decided at large companies. Mm-hmm. Can you explain to people, because there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast that do work at a very large corporate companies, how is comp essentially structured, and how is it realized within these large companies at varying different levels? Yeah,
I mean, for one thing, pay transparency is a pretty new phenomenon.
Yeah.
Before I even talk about how it's structured. So it's if organizations that you see are not doing it, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not doing it with bad intention.
No, definitely not.
But
it can give young people the perception, though.
It certainly is changing. And to date, there's 14 states that have either passed a pay transparency law, or they've all passed it, or they're about to go into effect. And all those states are either in the Northeast and the West Coast, other than Ohio. But I don't even know how many states are currently considering pay transparency laws. Europe has gone completely pay transparency, and all this has happened within the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of companies that are on their back feet, and the big challenge they have like the hard thing that they have right now is the minute they decide to go or they're forced to be transparent in their job applications around what the salary range is, you have to consider the current cohort of employees that you have and whether or not those individuals align with that range. And so that's the problem that they're facing, is like they could have a lot of people that internally that they would look at that job and say, well, hold on, that's it.
I'm not making that.
We see this, like we've seen this in our insights, and that's called wage compression. And so if you're advertising a job that's $15 an hour, let's just say that, but half the workforce in that job that's currently working for you is at $12 an hour, you can see that's a big problem.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening right now.
It could also highlight pay inequities too.
Well, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, that's what it definitely could be. I mean, there could be a lot of people, and statistically, we know that that's a lot of women that are probably making less than what those jobs would be advertised for. So that's what they're struggling with. And I think a lot of organizations don't have the strategy or even the internal capabilities to tackle that, but they're not being proactive in thinking that these laws are going to get passed in these states. And I think it will. I think all states eventually are going to get to that point. So how it happens now, there's two types of organizations. There's your small to mid-sized organization that doesn't really have a strategy around compensation. They're just looking at what the market is, or, hey, what did you make at your last job? And they give you a 10% increase or something. Or what were we paying that person last time? But then your large kind of enterprise level organizations, it's pretty complex. You've got grades. Typically there's 20 grades. And there's a range within each grade. And then within those grades, there's job categories. And there's a range for each one of those job categories. So you can go multiple layers within a grade on what the range of salary could be. And then people, like, let's say you're a specialist, and this is what I think a lot of people don't understand. So you're a specialist and you get promoted to a manager. Well, you're getting bumped up possibly 2 or 3 grades. Like a manager level's typically around, and the numbers can vary, but it typically would be around like grade 14. And then within that grade 14, there's multiple job categories that also have ranges. Who came up with this? That's a good question. There's a couple of major consultancies that contributed to this current compensation structure in the U.S.
How long ago was this?
I don't know. That's a good question. But effectively, they gather all the compensation data at large organizations. And if you want that compensation data, and that's something that I should talk about in the process. Every organization is reanalyzing their compensation structure probably every other year, or they're taking a look at it every other year. Yeah. And they're making sure that the people that we have in these jobs...
Which can be an expensive process,
It's a very expensive process, and you have a whole department basically doing this, like compensation department that's doing that, and then they're doing annual raises.
I do not envy their
jobs. They're doing merit increase. It's a highly specialized job. It's a well-paying job because there's not a lot of people that do it. But they have outside consultants that provide the data. So the data would be by the industry, by the size of the company, by the performance of the company, and the type of jobs within each company. And they're trying to match these jobs from like what our jobs are to what this comparable group are. So you have a comparable group out there that you're trying to match that data against, and then you're adjusting those ranges constantly.
Do you think there's ever been a compensation person that's applied for a job and they go in and they're like, seriously, you're that's what you're going to offer me? Like, this is my specialty. Like, I know what I deserve. I know what I should be paid.
Compensation people know exactly how much.
Like, they must be the best negotiators. Or
they're not even negotiating.
Or maybe just straightforward. They're like, look, this is the number.
Yes, this is
the number. I know it.
That is what they're like.
That's pretty funny.
They know exactly how much they should be making. There's no negotiating. They're like, I have this many years of experience. I'm doing this job at this level in this large of a company. I know exactly.
So would it make sense for younger people that are in the workforce to consult individually with a compensation consultant to
They wouldn't
identify how much they should be asking for when they go to apply for jobs?
No, they wouldn't talk to them.
Why? Because that seems like it'd be a pretty lucrative consulting business if you were consulting for individuals.
I'm sure there's consultants
Did I
out
just
there.
come up with a business?
There's consultants out there that say they do that, and like one of the like big jokes in the comp world is like, oh, so and so came in with like their salary.com like search. But that's not real data. Like,
No, but that's what I'm saying. You'd hire like an actual compensation
because
expert.
it's controlled just by a couple of big consultancies.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So they could never, like a person isn't going to walk in and hire Towers Perrin to consult with them. I mean,
Bet a rich person
these
would.
consultants make a lot of money. I mean,
I feel like
that's
AI is going to be able to tell us now.
So that's the funny
How
thing.
can they keep AI from learning all of this?
Well, that's the funny thing you had mentioned that. It's like at that level, the executive level, there is transparency.
That's what I'm saying.
Like everyone kind of knows
Yeah.
because they see the compensation data. When you're promoting someone into an executive role, typically you're pretty transparent around, okay, here's what the comparables look like. Here's what we're putting you at. So
Well,
it's,
the more
it's very
competitive the role, the more transparent they have to be.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how it works. It's not, I think a lot of people have the misunderstanding that companies just decide what they want to pay people.
Yeah, or they think they're the manager that they're directly reporting to decided.
Exactly.
So they're like mad at their manager when they find out X, Y, and Z or whatever, and it wasn't their decision.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I think a hiring manager could have, and it depends on the organization, the hiring manager could have a lot of autonomy within that range.
Well, they could say like, oh, instead of this entry level position, like we're going to pay them $30,000. But you know what? They actually did like a bunch of internships in college, and they actually have a pretty high writing acumen. So we're going to bump them up to $35,000 or something. Like they could like play within that range, small range maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the organization, what type of controls they have, and how much autonomy they give hiring managers. But it certainly could be like, here's the range: it's 50 to 60,000, and the hiring manager is cheap, and they always just pay at the 50,000.
Yeah.
Like that definitely could happen, or they. And that's the risk in giving those hiring managers that autonomy, is that they could have certain biases where they see, men, for instance, that have experience that they think is more valuable, and they pay them at the higher end of the range.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And so if the male gets brought in at that higher end of the range and the female's at the lower end of the range, then for the rest of their career,
They're always
it's
trying
going to
to-
compound on itself.
Yeah.
And like that 3% every year adds up, the bonuses add up, and then all of a sudden that range can get pretty wide between the male and the female. And that's what happens a lot, or statistically a lot.
Really?
And so that's the other thing. I think another misconception that happens is that people will think, oh, my company is cheap, they just pay less. And that would speak to what it's called the company's compensation philosophy. And so within that data that you have, there's a range that you're comparing yourself to other organizations, and your compensation philosophy states where you fit within that data. Mm-hmm. Do we pay at the median? So we want to be average among all of our peers, which is what most organizations do. Or great organizations will say, we want to be at the top of the range. So our compensation philosophy is to pay at the top. Some are like, we pay below the median. And so they could be right. Like this is a cheap company, but it's not just like the individual saying, the individual hiring manager saying we want to be cheap.
And I think one thing that we talk about, and definitely something I never thought about as a person going into the workforce, I never thought about like the total compensation of a job. And now I obviously have a lot more knowledge. And at the time, I think younger people do have a better outlook on things now because everything's so much easier to research and is very open and transparent. Mm-hmm. But I've been thinking about my first job out of college, which was working for the Atlanta Braves. And even though when I tell people they were paying us $9 an hour, people are like, oh my gosh, that's literally like, I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And I won't say that it's not terrible.
Shout out to Atlanta Braves.
But no, but what I will say is I always defend it because the experience that we got and quite frankly, like the memories that we got at that job was so invaluable. I mean, it was like so many people applied for those jobs, and I mean, they only hired like 12 of us, and I would say, thousands of people applied. So it was a very coveted job, especially right out of college where, whatever. But but I will say with that job, I looked at the total package because I was like, okay, I'm going to get all this experience, and like that name behind you is huge. But then it's funny, like when I got into like what I would call like the regular corporate world, I kind of didn't really pay attention to the whole package. Like there, I was like, oh, I get to go to every game. I get to go to, whatever. Let's say company A, you were like, oh, I'm going to make 150 at this company. And then you look at company B and you're like, oh, I'm going to only make 100. But company A doesn't provide any really good benefits. Like let's say like gym memberships. Company B pays for your gym membership. Well, add that up over time. I mean, that's could be a couple $1,000s a year depending on what gym you go to. Or they provide, like I remember when I worked at TMP, that agency, they paid for your cell phone bill. And I was like, that's incredible because, that could be a lot of money that added up over time.
Yeah.
And they also paid like a certain portion of your car.
So they could call you 24 hours a day though.
Well, but I didn't mind. You know me. I didn't care. But my point is like really sitting down and looking at like everything that you could possibly get. And like knowing that it's also on you to take advantage of all those things.
Yeah.
Like make sure you sit down and really read what's offered because you could take advantage. Like I think of Porsche. If I was Porsche, I'd probably pay people less because they're getting a car every quarter, a new car every.
Some people are.
Some people.
Yeah.
At the higher, but that's a really great benefit. Think about how much money that's saving you.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
A lot, yeah.
I know that's pretty basic, but I don't think a lot of young people think
benefits, amenities, flexibility, time off, like all of those need to be going into that calculation. And then there's, at a certain point, you get into variable compensation. So short-term incentives and long-term incentives. Short-term incentives would be a bonus, and that can be anywhere from a quarterly bonus, monthly bonus, quarterly bonus to an annual bonus. More and more organizations are now starting to pay less on the salary side and incentivize, because you used to not incentivize below a manager level with STI, short-term incentive.
Yeah.
Now organizations are starting to push STI lower down and pay less on the base salary.
Yeah.
Thinking that people will be more incentivized to be productive. But what they're finding, a lot of those organizations are doing that. They're finding that it's disincentivizing people because a large number of people at that level don't want that type of pressure.
And they might not actually have control.
Or they might not have control. I think also they don't do a good job with goal setting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay you on a bonus, but I don't do a really good job setting what that expectation around that goal is for that bonus. And then we get to the end of the year and you don't get it and you're super disappointed.
Yeah.
And it's because the manager that you worked for just didn't do a good job setting that. So I'm think about a normal company though, an accounting function. How do you set goals? Right?
Yeah,
like it becomes like efficiency. It becomes like all these different kind of nebulous things that managers don't think through. Like, how are we actually going to measure this?
Yeah, that's a good
year?
point.
And the last piece is long-term incentive, which is equity in the company, or can be phantom equity in the company. So pretend equity, and that tends to be in the vehicle of shares that will vest at some point. So either those shares, you'll get access to those shares after a certain time period, and then that's the vesting piece, and then you can do what you want with them, or they're pretend shares, but they still track along how much the company's worth. So you don't actually get like voting stock, but you have this like pretend stock.
Well, that's what I had at the startup that we shall not talk about.
Well, that was pretend.
Pretend.
Yeah, lots of pretend was going on.
There's a lot of pretend happening there.
A lot of vaporware and vapor stock was going on in that organization. So that's the big picture of what like total comp includes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was pretty educational because
it's a really boring subject.
I don't think so, though. I mean, nowadays people want to learn more. Or I truly believe, I wish I would have had a resource to teach me these things when I was first, I would even say, and maybe in some universities, I'm sure they do. They teach you these things. Florida State did not teach us about this. But I do wish there was more resources at the university level to teach you about this kind of stuff before you even go into the real world. And again, maybe now I
think your MBA is like maybe you.
Well, that's already too late though. Yeah. Like you're already out. Like to get your MBA, like it's first of all a ton of money to get your MBA if you're just going straight from undergrad.
Yeah.
And then if you're getting out and getting a job and then going back to get your MBA, you kind of already learned what's going on.
I just want to caveat that I'm trying to provide a very high level fundamental understanding of comp structure. I'm not saying that this is the only way and there's no other ways to structure this, and that I'm sure I made some mistakes, and can't wait to hear from everyone.
You did great. I mean, we have to keep it high level because a lot of the people that give us feedback are like learning. And again,
a lot of people who give us very individual specific feedback, though. That's why I just want to shout out to those folks.
Are you talking about John Trainer?
No. No. I'm just saying, like, that's, we get, you were wrong about this one little thing.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, so we'll check in from the last big event of the year, and then we've got some other things in the works that we are working on. And, you know what we didn't talk about that I wanted to talk about?
What?
The Mendez Netflix show. Menendez. But we can save that for next time since...
it's pretty disturbing so far.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited. We can go home and watch an episode now.
There you go. So we are starting that, which is weird because I lived through it and I didn't think I'd be that interested. But they've definitely put a little twist on it that makes you interested. So just like that they're really leaning into the Milly Vanilli, which is like a really short window of
time
of pop culture there, which I like.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
We'll drop
blame it on the rain.
We'll drop it